There's a bit of a shakeup happening in the Pacific Coast with one particular candidate in the island. So, island elected officials voiced support for Aaron Gunn as calls grow for conservative candidates' resignation. So, for those who may be familiar with that name, but maybe not familiar with that name, Aaron Gunn is an independent journalist. He's a documentarian. He has these films on YouTube and Rumble, and he dives into detail about the fentanyl crisis. He has, documentaries like the deadliest scandal in Canadian history, going into the safe supply scandal in BC in particular. He goes into, how Trudeau, uh, with the help of the Premier David Eby, came together in coordinates with this kind of scandalous uh, policy of safe supply and decriminalizing fentanyl, decriminalizing meth and coke and crack cocaine, and how it's devastated a lot of communities. So he does some very interesting work. I recommend checking out his material there. But now he's running, and he's been a candidate for the conservative base for a year now in the BC area. But now he's getting a bit of blowback because of tweets that he made in the past. So it goes on to say, amid the calls for the federal conservatives to drop North Island Powell River's Aaron Gunn over past social media posts about residential schools, elected officials on Vancouver Island and beyond are voicing their support for the candidate. 8 elected officials, as well as the former mayor, signed a letter they say they feel compelled to speak out in strong support of Gunn, whose character and record have been profoundly misrepresented in a troubling smear campaign. The letter was signed by Campbell River Mayor Kermit Dow, Campbell River City Council's Ben Lanyon, Ron Kerr, and Doug Chapman. Mount Waddington Regional Director David Summers, Powell River City Council Jim Palm, Courtney Comox, MLA Brennan Day, and North Island MLA Anna Kindy, who shared the document on her Facebook page. Former Courtney Mayor Larry Jagula also signed this letter. It was last week when Gunn's past social media comments about the history of Canada's residential schools were put into the spotlight, including an October 2022, October 22nd, 2020 post on X where he wrote there was no genocide. Stop lying to the people and read a book. The Holocaust was a genocide. Get off Twitter and learn more about the world. In recent days, various Indigenous and municipal leaders called for Gunn's removal, saying he has denied the impact of residential schools and genocide experienced by First Nation people. In a report, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission characterized the intent of these schools as cultural genocide. The House of Commons, meanwhile, unanimously passed a motion in 2022 recognizing Canada's residential schools as genocide. It's very scary for it to be denied. Hereditary Chief Chuck John of the, oh my God, how do you say that? Ahasachee First Nation, located within the North Island Powell River riding, told Czech News Thursday. I really believe that that should be redacted, or he should be pulled from the riding. Meantime, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre is standing by Gunn. He has not denied the impact of residential schools. That's just misinformation, Poilievre said during a news conference on Saturday in Osios, BC. I should really I should really learn about these communities' names in BC, but I'm from Ontario, so what can you do? In fact, he said that he wants to continue to condemn the residential schools and build stronger partnerships with First Nations people to unlock our resources. Gunn says he's grateful for his support. I am beyond grateful for the support Pierre Poilievre and local leaders like Campbell River Mayor Kermit Dowell have shown me in recent days in the face of misinformation and false claims being spread about my beliefs, he told Czech News on Sunday. On Friday, other current and former elected officials, including the mayors of Courtney and Cumberland, various councilors, and former MLA, to name a few, also penned a letter asking conservatives to withdraw their endorsement of Gunn and demanding that the candidate withdraw his candidacy in the North Island Powell River riding. They said Gunn's past statements are unacceptable, adding in the letter about 25 signatures. These views and statements are particularly concerning and harmful in a riding with large numbers of First Nation constituents. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh highlighted this letter on Sunday as he called for Poilievre to fire his North Island Powell River candidate Aaron Gunn. Singh also points to the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, the BC's First Nations Leadership Council, and the regional chief of the BC Assembly of First Nations, saying the trio has called the Conservative leader to take action and remove the candidate. The group opposed to Gunn said his disturbing comments are in addition to harmful comments made about LGBTQ rights, as well as threats to the Canadian sovereignty. There was support for Vladimir Putin and Elon. Oh my God. So this is why. This is why. Um, when you start going off the track, and obviously, they made the original statement was the fact that Aaron Gunn, who's an investigative journalist, he's a documentarian, he's been doing his work, he's been running as a conservative candidate, and let me just show people also, originally he was a liberal. So this is kind of an ex-liberal, now gone conservative because the Liberal Party has just, overstepped, just crossed the line, ignored its base, just completely abandoned its entire ethos and just went a totally opposite direction away from the populist crowd. Aaron Gunn, this is back in 2021, stated, "Today I'm officially canceling my membership and left the BC Liberal Party as I begin the process of building a true common sense alternative that can inspire British Columbians and defeat the NDP." So this is a guy who was a former liberal, now turned conservative because of how just grotesque the liberal and NDP establishment has become to not only him but majority of the population. And obviously this guy is getting a lot of support, and it doesn't help the the case. It doesn't help the argument that they're accusing this guy of when you start conflating other situations into this. So they first accused him of comments made about the residential schools, which is it is a dark history. It is disturbing. I'm not discrediting. I'm not supportive of the statements that he's saying. But it's when you do statements like this and when you try to dig up dirt on a guy who said comments in the past, compared to the heinous actions that are still continuing to this day, what he said in that comment is minuscule to what's actually happening right in front of our nose. And the fact that they're trying to conflate that with also trying to accuse him of, being anti-LGBTQ, making threats to sovereignty, supporting Vladimir Putin and Elon Musk. Like, now you're just doing this whirlwind of attacks to try to smear this guy as possible. It loses the case. It loses the momentum of what you're trying. And now it opens and exposes that this is establishment hack. This is an establishment smear job trying to attack a guy like Aaron Gunn, who's running a campaign, may have said some controversial statements in the past, but now he's not endorsing that. He's not, touting that on the campaign trail. He's just trying to look for common sense. And it just seems like a whirlwind of smear attacks because they know that Aaron Gunn may have some resonation with a lot of this crowd. He's running in a largely First Nations area. They largely support him. A lot of the city council support him. There's a huge long list of letters in support of this guy. So he's gained some momentum. He's gained some popularity. But just like how they installed Mark Carney into this country, the whole purpose of all this is to destroy popularity. It's to destroy populism. We can't have what the people want. The people are awful. The people are despicable. You have to get rulers like Mark Carney to change that. So then it goes on. Where is it here? So there was a petition. They were trying to do a change.org. This is from the Comox Valley Record, or record, as you would say, saying petition for Aaron Gunn's removal has nearly reached 9,000 signatures, all because of a former tweet. Just keep that in mind. Over a former tweet, 9,000 signatures of people just going ballistic over previous statements said on a social media post, as compared to heinous actions that actually decimated against Canadians. And that's where I pointed out, saying, interesting how there's more of a call to action to remove Aaron Gunn off the ballot in his BC riding due to certain residential school comments, and yet not a single call towards someone like Chrystia Freeland, who actively froze bank accounts of many Canadians, a violation of charter rights and freedoms. And the saying goes that actions speak louder than words. So why isn't there petitioning? Why isn't there angry letters? Why isn't there a revolt against heinous members like Chrystia Freeland, who actively engage in violating constitutional rights, charters and rights and freedoms against Canadians, taking deliberate action against people within this country? But people are angry about a former candidate's former tweets because of statements he made in the past, which he doesn't even support. He's not decimating that residential schools. He's not discrediting that. He's just saying that it's not comparable to genocide. It's not comparable to say that people locked away in residential schools, as horrible as it is not comparable to the Holocaust. That's all this tweet is stating. But they want to strict him away from the ballot, remove him from his candidacy just right before the election. But yet nothing on Chrystia Freeland. Nothing on people that actually have done despicable actions against Canadians. Just very interesting, very telling in that. But it's even sworn even bigger because now the Canada's National Observer says that not only Aaron Gunn needs to be scrutinized, needs to be cut back, but now they want to go after all of BC Conservatives. So all the people that support this guy, anyone that associates with him, needs to be held to account because, oh, you're supporting someone that made a tweet that we don't like, that's very hurtful. And we're also accusing him of being a Putin puppet. We're also accusing him of supporting Elon Musk. We're also accusing him of wrecking Canadian sovereignty because he's running as a conservative. Unlike Mark Carney, who was installed by the WEF. Like, that's not concerning for Canadian sovereignty. That our nation that's already destroyed catastrophically by billionaire escapade international conglomeracies that have just bought out this country and hollowed it out for what it is. That's not a concern for sovereignty, but conservatives running in an election is what people are freaking out about. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. And methinks it's not really so much to do with that tweet, but more on what this guy represents. Again, this guy was a former liberal and former supporter of the NDP and said, enough is enough. You've gone way too far. You've gone way too far off the trail. I'm going to run as a conservative, have a more grounded campaign. And considering I am an independent journalist and documentarian that exposed a lot of the tribulations, that have done my background research on the heinous actions of Trudeau and David Eby and the NDP and the establishment as a whole in this country, they can't have him run this race. They can't have something like that. Again, the reason that Mark Carney was installed, just like that headline said in the Independent, whole purpose of this is to defeat populism, which is the new scare tactic. It's like the new communism. or the new socialism. They used to scare you with that and fearmonger people. Oh, you can't elect this guy because that's going to lead to communism. Oh, you can't have this because it's going to lead to socialism. Now it's populism. God, you can't have this independent journalist and documentarian who's very successful and popular. You can't have this guy run an election. That's populism. People are going to like him. They're going to endorse him. They're going to elect for him. It's almost like democracy. Ugh, we can't have that. How are we going to screw over more people? How are we going to continue on our criminal cartels? How are we going to continue on the safe supply scandal that is wrecking the province of BC? How do we continue on our organized crime cartels? How do we continue on the corruption? How do we continue decimating Canadians if Canadians are gathered together to support this guy? I know. We'll start a huge smear campaign. We'll dig up some old tweets, validate that, make people so angry and so ferociously against this over words, and forget all the actions that other politicians have done to Canadians. That's what I'm seeing here. That's what a lot of people are saying here. And that's why this guy, despite comments he made about residential schools, and I'm not, supporting or against it, what he said there, I'm saying that actions speak louder than words, and what this guy's former tweets have stated doesn't explain what his campaign is about. And the fact that they want to eliminate his chances of running in a campaign right before the election. Notice how they had all this time to go after him. They had all this time to reveal his tweets, but they chose right now, to decide, oh, he can't run in the campaign. Again, all this is very telling. And also adding in that, he's made comments about LGBTQ and threats to sovereignty and his support for Putin, and that. You see where this is going. But luckily, there are people out there that could see past the BS, see past the trickery, see past the hackery, see past the propaganda, and focus on Aaron Gunn as who he is, as this individual that was a former liberal, decided to run a campaign for common sense, for the safety of BC, and for his riding. And now, because he's running this campaign and he's become very popular, they're now, the opposition, the liberal and the establishment, want to take full action, throw everything but the kitchen sink to try to destroy this guy's chances. That's what it sounds like to me.